Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Carla and Crappy Show. It is week 10 of the college football season, and we're going to start with something serious. Carla and I are concerned about AJ.
Yes.
Oh, there are zero games in FBS starting later than 8 p.m. on Saturday this weekend. There is only one FCS game that starts later than that, and that is Portland State at Sacramento State at 9 p.m. On Saturday. There is no late slate. Carla, when you heard this, what were you as concerned about AJ as I was?
I was, and then I had to go back and think, like, we've done this show for 13 years. And I really think this is I can't name another week where this has been the case. I honestly cannot think of another week in the past 13 years that there has not been a game that kicked after 8 o'clock. It is bizarre.
So the first question we have to ask is, AJ, are you doing okay?
Look, I spent a lot of time looking into this. I investigated the situation. And it appears to come down to this stupid sport called baseball.
The one that I was hung up on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that one. And it appears that right now, Game 7 of the World Series, if necessary, in parentheses, would be scheduled for Saturday night during that time period. And y'all decided to just not? You decided to just give up that time slot? This is what happened to college football when they let the NFL in on Thursdays. And
which is a mistake.
Which was a mistake. And honestly, I hope the Yankees lose tonight. We're recording this on Tuesday night. It's currently the top of the 5th. And I truly hope the Yankees lose.
What is this?
I hope they get swept. It is currently 5-3 Yankees. Okay. And honestly, I would love to see the Yankees lose, so there's a sweep, so that every single one of these TV networks doesn't try this nonsense again, where they take away my beloved late night football. There's no reason to do this. And it's not like, by the way, it's not like they had, there's not games that would be played in the Western, like in the Pacific time zone. Yeah. There's plenty of those games. They're just playing them earlier. I think the latest game kicking off right now, the Power 5 is Pitt, SMU, and TCU Baylor. Those are in Texas. Yeah. But Colorado State, Nevada is at 7 p.m. East, or is 7 p.m. Central Time. USC at Washington. Why is that game not at 10 p.m.? Why are you playing that at 7:30 p.m. Eastern? Why are you doing that? This is stupid. We had all this conference realignment so that you could have your Big Ten football across the time zone, so that you wouldn't ever have to shove all of them into one round. And yet here we go doing this nonsense. This is on ESPN. This is your fault. And
now,
Fox and
AJ, I note that you did not actually answer the question. Are you handling this okay?
No, I'm not handling this okay.
I just want to make sure. I just wanted to make sure that we were all clear as to what's going on.
I'm just going to be upset. It's going to be like 11 p.m. and I'm not going to know what to do. I'm going to be like, what?
AJ's going to randomly be texting us, just
have a cup of coffee
at like 2 in the morning, and just like, it's going to be just completely random nonsense because he doesn't know what else to do.
You could live tweet WPXI's local news at 11. There's all kinds of things you could.
Is there even a Fedco zone this year? Hawaii's playing Fresno State at 7 p.m. Eastern. What kind of cockamamie nonsense is this?
That's like the big example that I did not understand. And that is a perfect, even if you're not starting at midnight Eastern, that is a perfect West Coast night game. It should be by all rights, and it's just
at absolute minimum a 9 p.m. Eastern kick.
Yeah,
at least. Yeah.
But yet here we are playing this game at 6 p.m. You're playing Hawaii in the daylight. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
That's a nighttime game. Let that be nighttime games.
It does not work. Well, we're still going to have AJ's Group of Five After Dark report. That's what it's called. That's what it will always be called. And we're going to make sure that it happens, even though things are a little different this weekend. But of course, before we look ahead, we always take a look back to see what made an impression upon us in the weekend that we just wrapped up. AJ, just as a chance to continue venting, what did you notice last weekend that caught your attention?
Well, it started when I believe it's the very first day of the week of the football week, which was Tuesday night. When Kennesaw beat Liberty, baby.
Yes.
Oh, I feel so good about this. Oh,
cheers to Kennesaw.
Cheers, Kennesaw. We love you. One, they rushed the field, and then Liberty head coach Jamie Chadwell. So there's one more second left, and he did the whole Mac Brown thing, and then they put one more second back on the clock. So all the students who had rushed the field kindly, honestly, left the field, and they were like, "We'll go back up in the stands." And then they tried to do the pitchy woo woo, like we're going to try and lateral ourselves into a touchdown. Didn't happen. Game's over. Students re-rush the field. They're chanting. It's their first FBS win.
Yep.
They beat an undefeated Liberty team who, again, foed after fa.
Yes, they did.
And
yes, they did.
We love to see this because that means Liberty ain't making no playoff.
Nope.
And two, wonderful for Kennesaw State. And then we go bookended on the other end with the very last game of the college football week, which was Nevada goes to the islands and they find a fully island-powered Hawaii who whomped them. Hawaii has thrown the ball a lot this year.
Yeah.
And this time they ran the ball directly down Nevada's throat. They ran the ball like crazy.
Yeah.
Braden Shager, the quarterback for Hawaii, had 4 rushing touchdowns, including 2 tush pushes. And they won 34-13. And after the game, the athletic director of Hawaii held up a Scantron that said pass. And the tweet just said, "You passed the Hawaii test. Good job." And I need his shirt. AD, if the AD of Hawaii is listening, I need that shirt.
Yeah.
He had on like a Hawaiian shirt with this like Monstera pattern that was like teal and blue, navy blue and yellow. It was clean, and I need that. But yeah, Hawaii absolutely want them. I'm going to the box score real quick because I want to see. Hawaii had 242 yards rushing, and 153 yards passing. So
that's a good
very weird. This is a run and shoot, a lot more run, less shoot. So we're going there. It was great.
Okay, that sounds like a perfect way for you, especially to wrap up a long college football week. Carla, what got your attention last weekend?
I got a couple things here. So, I'm not going to talk about the win over Wisconsin, because I'm going to hold that for conversation during our game analysis this week. Because we might have a little game we want to talk about, maybe just a little bit. What game? But I do want to talk about Boise UNLV.
Okay.
That game absolutely lived up to expectations. I actually almost made it all the way to the end of that game, AJ. You would have been proud of me. I made it into the fourth quarter before I fell asleep. But man, that game was fun. Everything that we thought it was going to be and more. Oregon, holy cow.
Yes.
We talked about that last week about how if Oregon whomped Illinois, that's one of those like putting Oregon into a new tier. It happened. Quack. So Oregon looks to be legit. We'll see. They've got a couple other interesting things happening before the end of the season, but whoo boy, the Ducks seem to have figured things out. And then by golly, Vandy almost did it. Now they were down in that game they trailed in that game for most of the game. And it would have taken, if you just looked at the score, you would have said, oh man, they almost won the game. It would have taken a little bit of a miracle for them to pull that out at the end, but
it felt like so close. They were so close.
It did feel close. Yeah. I mean, it was a 2-score game. They scored late. They would have had to recover the onside kick. They didn't. And, but I give them all the credit in the world. They hung in there, which is something that we wouldn't have said about a Vandy team not all that long ago.
Absolutely.
And my final note here, can I like petition the AP pollsters?
We can try.
Can we get Wazoo ranked? Wazoo is 7-1. They're 7-1, and they walloped San Diego State last week. And now, true, this is not the San Diego State we're used to, but like that was a pretty impressive win against San Diego State. let's get the Pac-12 back into the top 25, please. Please.
Yeah,
That
game at the end was a little weird. The punter got a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for swinging on a guy who roughed him. So there's that. But it was offsetting penalties because the guy swung back. But
okay, yeah.
It was a kind of a clunker of a game, honestly. Like they held it pretty well, but they only won by 3.
Okay.
They had to go for 2 to make it a 3-point game. But it was back and forth. San Diego State's field was weird. It was covered in sand. Like they had like tried to dry out the field or something. It looked really bad. But Washington State is 6-1, and I think
they're 7-1.
Or sorry, 7-1. Excuse me. I think they absolutely deserve to be ranked, but they're not getting ranked because they're playing like a half Mountain West schedule.
Yeah.
By the way, the Pac-12 championship game between Oregon State and Washington State is the last game of the season. It is during Waibowee week, so just keep that on your calendars. And also, Oregon State put out their football schedule for next year. Guys, we got an in-season home and home between Oregon State and Washington State next year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They
like
play
it.
twice.
Yes.
They play twice in the same year, and it's a home and home. It's the best.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
That's fantastic. I forgot one last thing before I cede the microphone here. A tip of the hat to Appy State. They winning their first game at home. Since everything happened, and they were behind in that game. And came back and found a way. That game was ugly in the first half. It was like 6-3 or something at halftime. Like it was not pretty at all. And then it was all, I checked the score again and I was like, oh wow, they discovered offense. Both teams discovered their offenses in the second half. And that game kind of went off the rails real quick. But Appy State held on to win that game. So kudos to the Mountaineers for getting a moral win in Boone. To kind of boost morale. That's the word I'm looking for. Win for the morale in Boone.
Very nice. That was a cool thing to see. As far as the stuff that I noticed, first, I should apologize to you guys for suggesting that Syracuse at Pitt was going to be a game to pay attention to. When I made that recommendation, I was assuming that 2 teams would be participating instead of just the one. So, congratulations on the Panthers for destroying Syracuse's hopes and dreams. That was kind of brutal. In Athens,
both teams participated. Just one of them did a lot more with it. That's all.
It wasn't a whole lot of participation. But
no, he participated. He threw the ball 5 times to the wrong team. That's all. Every now and then, a good, reliable Honda Accord will, go on the fritz and need a new water pump. It's fine.
Here in Pittsburgh, your Carnegie Mellon Tartans bounced back from the Grove City loss a couple weeks ago. They had a bye week last weekend. They absolutely destroyed St. Vincent 69-7.
Nice.
69-7. The Tartans are now ranked 16th in the country in the D3 coaches poll. And interestingly, because I was not paying attention to this stuff last weekend, that's above number 18 Grove City, which went and lost to Washington and Jefferson last weekend. So there are interesting things going on with the President's Athletic Conference. Carnegie Mellon has homecoming this weekend. They are hosting 6-1 Westminster in lovely Oakland, the lovely Oakland neighborhood of Pittsburgh. Finally, in Athens, my Bobcats rolled over Buffalo 47-16. They are now in a 3-way tie for the lead in the MAC. They do not play on Saturday because, as you know, Friday is November 1st. What happens in November?
Action.
It is starting, boys and girls, and OU has I think a game on Wednesday, so I won't be terribly distracted when, at least not by football, when we're taping next Tuesday. I have thoughts about Ohio State's game as well. I'm gonna save that for when we talk about that stuff. Since there are still games this week that will technically be played after the sun sets, at least on the East Coast, we're going to go ahead and continue, as I said, to call AJ's segment After Dark. And as we know, whether it's dark or light or whatever day of the week it is or whatever's going on, AJ's going to come up with good stuff. AJ, please, all yours.
It's dark right now.
Yes, it is.
There, now it's after dark. We're starting in the American. We're going to talk about a different game in the American, or American adjacent, with the troops. But this is all the good teams in the American are playing all of the not good teams in the American. Your closest spread right now is USF -3 with a fun index of 51.5 playing on Friday. The battle of South Florida versus not South Florida. We have USF going to FAU. No, don't. And then Saturday, UAB is favored by 3.
Okay.
Weirdly, because they're bad. I believe when they were playing Army, the sideline reporter, after like the first 2 touchdowns that Army scored, they said the sideline reporter said the UAB sideline looks sad. Actual quote. Like, I've never heard that said about a team, but they just look down in the dumps. UAB is 1-6. Tulsa's 3-5 and came back in a wild one to beat UTSA last week. They were down 35-7 at halftime, came back and won 46-45. It was bananas.
I didn't realize they came back. Holy crap.
Oh yeah, they brought it all the way back.
I saw the halftime score. I'm like, oh, what? Done. Okay.
Oh yeah, even Tulsa fans were like, yeah, we're good here. And they checked out and they came back and won. You know what? Give me the Hurricanes here. I'm going to pick the Hurricanes game. This is 2:30 p.m. on ESPN Plus. This is at UAB. UAB is favored by 3. Fun index is 58.5. Give me the Golden Hurricanes. I want them to do well. UAB, fire Trent Dilfer. You shouldn't have hired him in the first place. Carla, who you got here?
Oh, Tulsa all the way. Not even a question.
Yeah, Golden Hurricanes. Winning that's going to be right there.
Carla, we're going to pick the only CUSA game that is happening on Saturday, because weirdly, the CUSA is playing on Saturday because CUSA Tuesdays in October are over.
No, they're playing. They're playing tonight, and they're playing. There's games tomorrow night, but there is one game on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm specifically saying for the folks who are not live with us right now, which is no one.
Exactly.
We're not doing this live. We're doing this live with each other. We're not doing this live for a studio audience. But Saturday starts CUSA Saturdays, Q Saturdays, and we have our beloved Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders going to El Paso and playing in the Sun Bowl at UTEP. UTEP's favored by 3. Fun index is 51.5. There's 3 total wins between these two teams. Middle, you got to get this one. Okay, you have to get this one. This is one of those ones you're not going to get a lot of them this year.
Right. You
got to get this one. Crappy, who do you have in this game?
Blue Raiders in one of my favorite stadiums that I've never actually seen in person. I've always loved that building. I don't know why. Even as a kid, I made an effort to watch the Sun Bowl every year just so I could see the stadium. But that's neither here nor there. Middle,
the grand uncle of them all.
Yeah, the grand, the second cousin. Middle's the pick here.
Carla, break down this middle game for us.
Well, I mean, the big thing here is that this is, you got to win this game if you want to have any sort of hope of getting to bowl eligibility. The Blue Raiders have to win out, and that's a tough ask with a Liberty game looming on the horizon on the 9th. So if you lose this game, you're playing for pride for the rest of the season, right? So I think Derek will have him fired up for this game. I think the Blue Raiders will win this one so that the 9th will be a really amazing atmosphere, knowing that, it's a must win for Middle. And now we know that Liberty's mortable. Sure. Liberty is mortable. And I think if we learned anything from Kennesaw, it's that Liberty is mortable. And I think that gives the Blue Raiders some hope heading into that game. So yeah, you got to win this one. So Blue Raiders win on the road.
It is a light week in the MAC because MACtion starts on Tuesday.
Right.
But we actually have a very big game in the MAC at noon on ESPNU. We have the Toledo Rockets heading to Eastern Michigan. Your spread is Toledo favored by 8. Fun index is 53.5. Man, both of these teams have had some like real dumb losses. I really didn't think Toledo was going to lose to Bowling Green last year, but here they are. Or sorry, last week, not last year. and here they are. Toledo's got to get back into this one. They are currently 2-2 in the MAC. They started the season as like the clear favorites in the MAC, and now they're kind of like just kind of in the lead with everybody else. Eastern Michigan has weathered the storm of a Central Michigan rivalry game, even though Central Michigan's kind of bad. I'm going to say Toledo bounces back in this one. It's going to be 50 degrees. It's football weather at Ypsilanti. Give me Toledo to win here on the last Maction Saturday of the year. Crappy, who you got?
And we've talked about this before. I feel like Toledo has sort of Toledo's had an off year, and Eastern for Eastern standards is actually playing pretty well. And the net of this is both teams are 5-3 and 2-2 in the conference, and stuck kind of in the middle of the pack. Both of these teams have a road to not just to a bowl game. Obviously, they both have 5 wins, and they're both close to making that leap to 6. I think Toledo, however, is just because of the experience they have and being competitive and competing for MAC titles, which is not something the Eagles have done in anyone's recent memory. I think Toledo is going to figure out a way to put this together and become something resembling the threat that they that they appeared to be at the outset of the season. So I'm taking the Rockets in this one.
Carla, who you got?
I hesitate to make this a trifecta because we all know what happens when that happens. But at the same time, I kind of agree with both of your analysis here. This feels like a get right situation for Toledo. And the experience a factor here, right? That I really think that's going to play a role. Yeah, my gut says Toledo in this game.
Okay.
I think it's time to talk about the Mountain West and not being played after dark, which we will get to. So I'm actually going to pick the latest game on the schedule, as is proper here. Also, it's the lowest spread of the week, as far as I can tell. We got Colorado State, 8 p.m. on CBSSN, the network of
champions.
Colorado State goes to Nevada to play the Wolfpack, who just is coming off of a game where they just got their butts kicked in by my beloved Bows. Spread is Colorado State favored by 1.5. Your fun index is a paltry 45.5. I think Nevada is kind of broken. They did not look right. They did not look like they had it together. Their offense kind of sputtered. Their defense could not stop the run at all. I see Colorado State coming in, getting a big win. This would actually make Colorado State bowl eligible if they win, which they haven't been in quite some time. So it would be great for Jay Norvell to get them into a bowl game. There's, by the way, Colorado State's 3-0 in the Mountain West. Do not sleep on that. Give me Colorado State to win. Carla, who you got?
Yeah, I think this is a Rams win, I think. I like Colorado State. They've done some good stuff. And like you said, they're unbeaten in the conference. And you're right. I mean, Nevada does not look like the Nevada team we've seen in the last couple of years. Yeah, Colorado State on the road.
I was as a side note, I was looking at my time hop a day or two ago, and I noticed that there were pictures of the television because it was snowing. I think it was Colorado State hosting Air Force. But it was like a
banger of a game.
First snow game of the season. Was that last year or 2 years ago? Was that last year?
Ooh,
that might
I think
be
it was last year.
So I'm just this is at Nevada. It's not going to happen, but the Colorado State thing made me think about that and hope for the fact that we see a snow game on TV fairly soon. Having said that, Colorado State is quietly putting together a nice season. Something unexpected. I say this with some authority. The videographer that I work with in my office at CMU is from Colorado State. Grew up in Colorado, went and he's Ram, got a big flag hanging. It was cute. So in his name and thinking of him, but also, Colorado State's played really well. I'm going to pick the Rams on the road to beat Nevada.
I love it.
Mhm.
We turn to the Sun Belt before we go into our how will the Big East or the Big 12. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Eat itself this week. Sun Belt has has a pair of bangers along with a very interesting game on Friday. So we'll start on Friday, 7:30 or 7 p.m., excuse me, on CBSSN. We have Georgia State traveling to Hartford to play UConn. And the only reason I'm talking about this game is that UConn's favored by 7.5. The fun index is 48.5. UConn is 5-3. Jim Moore might take the Huskies bowling again, which I find fascinating. And also, bowl season, a bunch of cowards who stopped printing T-shirts this year. They stopped doing the bowl season. We're going bowling shirts because they didn't make one for UConn last year, and they got called out on it. So now they don't make shirts for anybody because they're a bunch of cowards.
So,
yeah, exactly. So let's talk about UConn. They've actually been they've been sneaky good this year. They lost to Duke, Maryland, and Wake Forest. They only lost to Wake Forest by 3. They lost to Duke by 5, and they lost to August, Maryland, the most powerful Maryland, 50-7. So I think they can come out and actually do something well here. They are a defense first team. They are 76th in passing yards. They are 47th in points scored. They're not good on offense, but they hold everybody down and just try to beat them close.
Right.
I think UConn gets the win here, and I think this is the game that takes them to bowl eligibility. Carla, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take UConn here. I just pulled up their schedule while you were talking. And if for some reason they don't win this game, they've got UAB next week and they close the season at UMass. Like, Jim Moore has taken the Huskies bowling, but I think they get it done this week. So there's no question about it. But we could seriously be looking at an 8-win UConn team. Tell your kids about an 8-win UConn. Huskies win.
UConn's too good at everything. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop. And I would love to pick the Panthers to beat the Huskies, but I can't. Again, this is a situation like the Colorado State situation. In UConn has put together a solid season. They're doing it by because they don't have a conference alignment there, so they're playing an independent schedule and 5-3 with a bowl eligibility on the line. Yeah, Huskies the pick.
Also, we've been so focused on 9-win Indiana that we did not pay attention to 8-win UConn. Took our eye off the ball. Really
could happen.
3:30 p.m. on ESPN Plus. We have Fun Row, 5-2 Fun Row going to Marshall. The spread on this game is Marshall by 10.5. Fun index is 47.5. South Alabama played on a Saturday and played well. Surprise. I was not prepared for that. They've only been playing well during the week, and on Saturdays they would be terrible. They did not look good. They looked all kinds of out of sorts. I don't know that, playing Marshall is going to get you back in the game. But it could be a way for ULM to get to bowl eligibility here. Marshall still fighting. They need 2 more. They're fine. Marshall's fine.
Yep.
They're not good. They're not great. They're just fine. I think ULM keeps the magic happening. We believe in the Warhawks, and I think ULM gets the win. Crappy, who you got?
Herd at home. Fine will be enough in this instance.
Yeah, I think I'm with Crappy on this one. Herd. Look at their losses, like Georgia Southern by a point and at Ohio State were their 2 most recent losses. Like, I think Marshall is maybe a little better than we think they are.
Better than
I think they're going to show that this week. So I'm going to take and Marshall plays well at home. That's a historic thing. So I'll take Marshall.
That's fair.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. They beat Western Michigan 27-20 at home. They beat App 52-37 at home. They beat Georgia State 35-20 at home. Yeah. Hey, I'm happy to be wrong. But give me Fun Row. I think they can do it.
Okay.
And finally at 7:30 p.m. on ESPNU, we have Georgia Southern 5-3, South Alabama 4-4. South Alabama playing on a Saturday. Can they keep it going? They are favored by 6.5. Fun Index is a healthy 59.5.
Nice.
I think Georgia Southern is turning it around this year. The fans do not like Clay Helton. They do not want Clay Helton. They're getting Clay Helton. South Al is figuring it out a little bit, but they've not really stayed on top of it. They've been inconsistent. Georgia Southern, though, is coming off of a 47-19 loss at Old Dominion, which I think is what really set them off. They did beat JMU at home. They beat Marshall at home. They are second in the Sun Belt East, so they need to stay in the running here. They need to have Old Dominion lose. They need to get a win here and stay in that race for the Sun Belt East. I think they do that. South Alabama is just so very inconsistent recently. They are 3-1 in conference as well, so they need this win to stay in the race. So I think this one is super competitive. This one's going to be super interesting. Crappy, who you got?
This is tough. I would love for South Alabama to pick up a win here. It would be their third in a row, and they would therefore boost OU's strength of schedule for the BCS standings. However, I think Georgia Southern's got too much. Your point about South Alabama being inconsistent is well taken, and I'm picking the Eagles in this one.
Carla,
I'm looking at this, and South Alabama is super inconsistent. Like their schedule is just like it's a roller coaster. With what they're doing, and Georgia Southern has some solid wins on their slate there, and the Old Dominion game, that's a head scratcher. That's the game that I'm looking at going, huh? How'd that happen? But I think other than that, I'm going to say that was an outlier and take the Eagles on the road.
And finally, we turn to the Big 12, our dumbest and most chaos laden conference. And
there's some great opportunities this week.
So every week we do this nice thing where we look at how the Big 12 is going to eat itself, because all of the Pac-12 eating itself energy transferred directly into the Big 12. That's not because the Arizona schools went there. It's just kind of how it's worked out. And I'm staring there at 3:30 p.m. on ESPN. Texas Tech goes to Ames to play Iowa State. Iowa State is 7-0. Texas Tech at one point was leading the conference. They were 3-0 in conference. They've lost 2 straight. They lost to Baylor in an absolute head scratcher. I still don't understand how that game happened. And then they lost by 1 to TCU last week. Shout out to their kicker, who pulled a very dumb message out on his shirt and then missed a field goal, and the team lost by 1. I hope you learned your lesson. But Iowa State's favored by 13.5. Your Fun Index is 56.5. I think a lot of that 56 is being done by Texas Tech, but I am super interested in this game. Do we get the good Texas Tech that started the year that was kind of like just scoring points on everybody, or do we get the down Texas Tech that lost by a lot to Baylor? Like, what do we get here? There's chaos laden in this game. I'm still taking the Cyclones, but this is your highest eat itself potential. Carla, who you got here?
Yeah, this one's tough. Because I agree with you. I think this is a very high eating potential. Is that what we're calling it now? The eating potential. Because
the hunger potential.
The hunger potential. I like it.
Feast.
The feast potential. Because you were right. I didn't see that. I said last week that there was no way that UCF was going to give Iowa State a game, and then they did. They did, and the Cyclones had to hang on and win by 3. They could be in for another kind of day here. I think the line is silly, but the Cyclones are the pick at home here. But man, it wouldn't stun me one iota if we're talking next week about a Red Raiders win in this game. But I'm going to take the Cyclones.
Crap, who you got?
Man, this is tough. Texas Tech's quarterback Baron Morton is over 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns on the season so far. They also run the ball. They have an actual feature tailback in Taj Brooks, who's almost up to 1,000 yards rushing. You think of the cliche that a defense wins championships, and I would generally look at a strong defensive team versus a strong offensive team and think power on power. That advantage is going to go to the defense. I'm grudgingly, with some regret, I'm going to pick Iowa State in this game. But man, this feels like it could be it could go the other way pretty easily.
And I kind of want to call out the Kansas State Houston game as another eats itself potential, but no.
Okay.
I don't think so. Yeah.
This ain't it. Houston, good for you for beating Utah. No. And this week is your Group of 5 After Dark report. We do have one more Group of 5 game to talk about. We're going to talk about that as part of the big boy games because we respect the troops. To the big boy games, Carla and Crappy.
To the big boy games. These are all on Saturday. In years past, we kind of juggled the order to talk about different games as they come up, and ones that especially catch our fancy. We've stuck with a chronological schedule this year, and we're going to do that this time, which means the first game we're going to talk about, it's Big Nude. It's on Fox. It is number 4 Ohio State at number 3 Penn State. Ohio State, bafflingly, is favored by 3.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is 46.5. AJ, we're going to let you go first, and then Carla and I are going to hash this out.
I'm sure these two teams play football well. I'm sure they do that from time to time. This game is definitely not anxiety inducing in any way, shape, or form every single year for one team or the other. But I'm just going to call it like I sees it. This is modern day Bedlam. Buckeyes win. Anything can happen in this game, but Ohio State wins. There's honestly, what I expect to see happen, and maybe this is the game where we see the true. Maybe Penn State wakes up early. Who's to say? I will be sleeping in on Saturday. Let's see if Penn State does. It's a thing that has plagued the Nittany Lions all year, and this I don't think is a team that they can play catch up on like they have with USC, like they have with others. And if they get behind early, it's gonna be a problem. I think if Ohio State does not get off to a fast start, this also becomes a problem. Because if this is close at halftime, this becomes a very very interesting game. If this is big at halftime, we'll see if Penn State can come back. I don't think they can. I think Buckeyes win here.
Okay. Carla, I'm going to go next. I'm going to give you the last word on this since your Nittany Lions are at home.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to last weekend briefly. I told you guys I wanted to see. I was curious to see how Ohio State would rebound from the Oregon loss. And I got a very, very mixed response. Defense, not great day, but better in the areas that I wanted to see. 3 sacks, 13 tackles for loss, and the interception that ended up sealing the win. Good stuff. Also good, Will Howard had a solid day. Through one bad interception, but otherwise was on the money, and directed a very nice drive in the fourth quarter to win the game. Ohio State couldn't run the ball. And this is against Nebraska's front seven, which is not bad. I'm not saying that at all. Ohio State ran for 64 yards in that game. That's a problem. So when we look at Saturday, given the difficulties that Ohio State had in the rushing game, and against a pretty good front seven last weekend, they're facing a front seven that is much better than pretty good. Ohio State has to be able to run the ball even just a little bit, to keep Penn State's pass rush away from Will Howard. If they can't do that, oh boy, I'm not going to be a happy camper. Defense can help. Pressure on the quarterback, especially if it's the young guy. Bo Pribula. Am I saying that correctly? Pribula. Pribula. Okay.
It's like is it like fibula but with an R?
Okay. Okay.
That's
with a
fibula.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fibula. Whether it's him or Drew Aller, and I think Penn State said that I didn't say a whole lot that was definitive so far this week. Both guys are practicing as if they're going to play. Maybe we see both. Pressure the quarterback is going to be a huge deal. For JTT loves playing Penn State. So maybe that's going to be a thing. A turnover too, as Ohio State has been doing all season, with the exception of the Oregon game, would be fantastic. Especially if you give the offense, which is hamstrung because of injuries in the offensive line. If you can give them a short field, that's definitely going to help. This is going to, in a lot of ways, rely on what Ohio State's offense or what Ohio State's defense is able to do. Ohio State will be able to throw the ball. If Ohio State can run the ball, that's going to help. But keeping the Penn State's two-headed backfield in check, doing something to keep Tyler Warren from absolutely crushing you every time he touches the ball. This is as tough a matchup as I look at this one as I've seen an Ohio State Penn State game in a very long time. And I would not be surprised to lose this. I think Ohio State's going to step up, is going to muster enough offense and rely on a very good defense. And the word escape comes to mind. Ohio State will escape from Happy Valley with the win. But we talked last week about uncomfortable days. I'm going to have an uncomfortable early afternoon for sure. Carla.
Okay, so my recap from last weekend is, so here's what I saw. Did I have an uncomfortable Saturday evening? Mm-hmm. Sure. Mm-hmm. But not as uncomfortable as that USC game. Mm-hmm. And that's what impressed me most about the win in Madison. The Nittany Lions were as resilient as I have seen them in a long time, right? Drew Aller gets hurt, but Bo comes in the second half and picks right where Aller left off. It was an absolutely masterful job by Andy Kotelnicki in calling the second half. He had a play card ready to go for his backup, and he used it. And that's something, that kind of mettle in those kinds of challenging situations is something that we have not seen from this team in quite some time. This is a Penn State team that usually, once it faced adversity, would just kind of say, okay. And we've seen that in big games time and time again over the last 3 seasons. That did not happen on Saturday night. What makes me nervous in this game, these teams are almost mirror images of each other, right? Both have deep wells in the backfield. Ohio State has Jeremiah Smith, and that's going to be a matchup that could be and probably will be a significant factor in this game. I don't think Penn State has the guy that's going to be able to completely shut down Jeremiah Smith. That is going to continuously be a problem. But on the other side, we've got Tyler Warren, who poses a different set of challenges for your defense, right? So obviously you don't have to ask me who I'm taking here, but I will say this. Out of any time that our two teams have met in the last 5 years, this is the game I feel the best about entering. Maybe even since those epic 16, 17, 18 meetings, right? The 1-score games that were absolutely insane. Penn State absolutely fully capable of winning this game at home, so much so that I dug out the 1990 shirt and my blue and white pom-pom.
Very nice.
We're going all in on this one. This is the year. This is the year that we circled at the beginning of the season. That this was the year that if we were going to win these rivalry games, it was going to be with this team. This is the year they're going to win it at home. We are.
As I said, I agree that this is the toughest matchup that this game has featured in a very long time, and I'm going to have a bottle of Tums next to me on the couch when we kick off at noon. Also at noon, we have a fun slate at 12 o'clock on Saturday. Number 19 Ole Miss at Arkansas. Excuse me. Ole Miss is favored by 7. The AJ Fun Index is a surprisingly low 53.5 points. Carla, what do you think about this one?
Yeah. So if you're looking for like a comparative opponent between these two, both teams lost to LSU in consecutive weeks. Mm-hmm. Ole Miss lost in overtime. Arkansas got throttled, like not even close, right? So if you take that one comparison alone, you say Ole Miss wins big here. Mm-hmm. And then you look at the stats and you see the top rated passing offense in the SEC is Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. And near the bottom of the conference list in pass defense is Arkansas. And again, you say Ole Miss wins big here. Mm-hmm. And then you see that Arkansas has one of the best run games in the SEC, but Ole Miss has the top rush defense in the conference. And again, yep, it looks like Ole Miss should win big here. But honestly, I'm not so sure. Like, Woo Pig has been really, really tough at home this season, and they love nothing more than playing spoilers. So, yes, of course, I'm going to take Ole Miss in this, but Piggies keep this one much, much closer than the line indicates, but Ole Miss wins on the road.
Okay. AJ?
This feels like the type of game that a ranked Ole Miss loses.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like, this feels like we're coming in, we're just going to score a bunch of points. Ask Tennessee how that worked out for them.
Great.
Call them. I'm picking Arkansas.
Nice. A funny thing happened on the way to Lane Kiffin's coronation in Oxford. The Rebels reached the SEC portion of the schedule and suddenly began encountering teams that play defense. And that's left them at 500 in the conference and a game in a place that people do not want to play. Certainly, Carla, as Carla mentioned, Woo Pig gave up 30 some points to LSU, got thumped. But the Tigers' offense is very good when Garrett Nussmeier isn't throwing the ball in the stomach of the other team's middle linebacker. That game aside, they have played really well at home. Played and done it against very good offenses. I think they're going to do it again. I think Woo Pig wins this game at home and delays Lane Kiffin's coordination for another week or two or however long it takes. Also at noon on CBS, Air Force at number 21 Army. Army is favored by 22.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a militarily proper 41.5. Carla, what do you think about this one?
Ooh, I get to go first.
Sure.
So here's a fun statistic. I looked at passing offense nationally. Want to take a stab at where Air Force ranks nationally in passing offense?
Dead last.
Not good.
Not dead last.
Wow.
133rd.
133rd.
Guess who number 134 is?
Ooh.
Ken?
No.
Army?
It's not Kent.
It's not Army.
It's Army.
Is it?
It's really? Army.
Okay.
Army is 134 is the last of the nation in passing offense.
I've seen actual touchdown passes this season.
I know, but they're only averaging 100.3, I think, passing yards per game.
Oh, yards per game.
Yeah.
Some of these, listen, there's a difference between yards per game and success because the quarterback for Air Force has 1 touchdown and 5 picks, only throwing the ball 79 times. Bryson Daly has 7 touchdowns on the year and no picks. So
Also, AJ knows how much I love the fact that Air Force does not have an air attack.
That is correct.
That is fantastic. That is
Army
just
too.
A beautiful thing.
It's just amazing.
Army only needs a ground game.
So like Army, yeah, exactly. Army is gonna run over you, right? Mm-hmm. Again and again and again. Like that's what Army does. Air Force is similar, but they're just not quite as good at it. So I looked into run defense statistics, and Air Force isn't great at stopping the run. They're 119 in the country. Army, meanwhile, good. 3rd rush defense in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Army wins.
Mm-hmm. AJ?
Yeah, this is all right. We've already had Air Force Navy this year, right? So Air Force needs to win this to keep the three-way tie alive for the Commanders and Chiefs trophy.
Right.
I just don't see it.
No.
The problem is just like the Navy game, I feel like this is the trap game for all the service academies, is when they play the one that's not good, but they all know what's coming, right? This is option football. There's like 4 plays, right? How hard could it possibly be? And being able to stop the option means you have to know the option, and they do. They're just not good at it. I think the thing that is really breaking Air Force is their leading rusher only has 38 carries versus Bryson Daly, who's the quarterback for Army, has 138 carries.
Yes.
I really don't see a way for Air Force to win this, although Army could have one of those Navy type of days where they just turn over the ball a bunch. But this is a reminder. The Air Force started as the Army Air Force. AAF was in World War II. Shout out to my grandfather who served in the Army Air Force. Go Army, beat Air Force.
Go Army, beat Air Force. Listen, the only reason I included this game among the big boy games of the week, Army being ranked, that in and of itself is an excellent reason. But Army has a chance to continue its unbeaten streak. It can eliminate Air Force from Commander-in-Chief's trophy contention, and continue the momentum to the thing we all want, which is 2 Army-Navy games. An Army-Navy AAC championship game, pardon me, and that game being the week before the Army-Navy game that would count toward the actual champion of the Commander-in-Chief's trophy and Service Academy glory. Go Army, beat Air Force. That's how it's going to go. Also at noon, we're on our 4th screen at noon, if you guys aren't keeping track. This is on FS1. Minnesota at number 24, Illinois. The road team, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, are favored by 3 in this game at Illinois. The AJ Fun Index is a Big Ten appropriate 45.5 points. AJ, you're just going to love this game, aren't you?
Do we
AJ makes his best gopher face.
It's me and Goldie. Goldie had so many costume changes. It was kind of getting out of hand at one point. Illinois coming off of getting thumped by Oregon. That game wasn't even close. It wasn't even kind of close. Oregon turned Illinois into a fine paste, a very fine, no granules at all. I think this is Illinois' bounce back game, but this is going to be dumb. This has got hold on. This has got 17-14 all over it.
Okay.
This has got one of those games where you're just like, oh, it's 10-7 at the half. Hooray. And nothing's happening. That's what this game feels like.
I'm going to tweet you live updates on this game as it's going.
You should. I feel like actually, know what? I'm changing my pick. I feel like Minnesota gets up for this one. They can take Illinois all the way off the board after they get beat by Oregon. I think this is the game. This is one of those PJ Fleck get them up games. Yeah, give me Minnesota here.
Carla, what you got?
Yeah, I don't get the line. I really don't. Illinois has 2 losses this year. They're to Oregon and Penn State. Those are top 5 losses, right? And yes, the Illini got absolutely demolished last weekend, and a couple key players are going through concussion protocol. 2 other defensive backs were hurt. Bert said he's optimistic they're all going to play. And yes, Minnesota is on a roll, sure, but the last 2 wins have been over UCLA and Maryland. Oh, okay, that's fine. And also, sure, PJ Fleck likes to roll the dice in these kinds of games. This is, like AJ said, this is a PJ Fleck game, right? This is where he likes to do his thing, muddle with things, and cause chaos. I just think Illinois is the better team here. And they're playing at home. So yeah, Bert wins at home.
We're going to find out this week whether or not Illinois is an actual top 25 team or not. Vegas apparently does not think so. And if Minnesota wins in Champaign on Saturday, no one but Bert will think so either. In a lot of ways, BJ has done a similar job to what Bert has accomplished. People will look at the win against USC, which was number 11 at the time. That counts as a signature win at home. They currently have a 3-game winning streak. I wonder about the mental state of the Illini after just getting dismantled by Oregon a week ago. I think Minnesota rose the boat out of Chambana with a win on Saturday. I think the Oregon game is a little bit much to recover from for the Illini.
I am with AJ on this. Hammer the hell out of that under.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. 3:30 p.m. on ABC. Don't call it a cocktail party because that would be bad for whatever reason. Florida versus number 2 Georgia in Jacksonville. Georgia is favored by 16.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is 52.5. Carla, can your husband's Gators get this done?
Well, had you asked me before the Texas game, my answer would have been yes.
Mm-hmm.
So which Georgia team do we see in this game, right? The one that looked extremely mortable against Kentucky and Mississippi State, or the one that went full beast mode in Austin a couple of weeks ago? Right. Because if it's the latter, it's going to be a real long day for the Gators. Super, super long day. If it's the former, Florida's got a shot here because Florida always plays up in rivalry games. Ask Tennessee about that. And there's added motivation to the game this year with Trevor Etienne switching sidelines during the offseason. The Gators are, to put it lightly, pissed about that. And so they're coming into this game with a lot of extra motivation, and they've looked solid the last 4 weeks, even in the loss at Tennessee. Yeah. Georgia, I still think, is the pick here because of how we saw them last. But if we see if Georgia reverts back to the Georgia that we saw a couple of weeks, before the Austin game, Florida could really mess things up for the entire college football playoff by pulling an upset here. But I think Georgia is going to find a way to get it done.
That would be fun. It would be a lot of fun.
It would be fun. Always root for chaos.
Yeah. AJ, what do you think?
I want to believe. I want to. I think about it. But the problem I'm seeing is Graham Mertz being done for the season. This is now DJ Lagway's team. He has looked good. And at one point, I believe he had the most 40+ yard completions in a game at one. They're throwing the hell out of the ball now with DJ. But I don't think they really have the juice to go up with a good Georgia team, a very good Georgia team. I think the Georgia team that we saw against Texas is the one that put the absolute stomp to Clemson in week 1. And I think, Carla, you're right. There's a weird sort of loss of focus in the Kentucky game and in the Ole Miss game. Or sorry, Mississippi State game. You're right. It was Mississippi State. But I don't think Florida has it. Next year, maybe. Not this year. I'm going to take the dogs here. They get up for this one. This is a rivalry game. If this were Georgia playing, I don't know, any other Vandy, sure. I would say Georgia's going to go in there and maybe it gets weird, but Florida is one they get up for. So I'm going to take the dogs.
Okay. This, as you guys both said, this should be a Georgia win, and it really it shouldn't be close. But listen, Bulldogs have ranked opponents the next 2 weekends. Maybe looking ahead to get through those games before they cruise to the end of the regular season. The Gators have this game circled as their season, as their SEC season. They have a rivalry game against Florida State to close things out, but we'll take on that one when the time comes. Georgia is the pick, but if the Bulldogs team that played against Kentucky or Mississippi State is the one that shows up in Jacksonville, Florida thumped Kentucky a couple weeks ago. So you gotta wonder. Georgia's the pick, but keep an eye on this. It could be fun. Also at 3:30 p.m. on Peacock, our number 13 Indiana Hoosiers at Michigan State. IU is favored by 7.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is 51.5. AJ, how's this going to go?
Indiana's on a run here, y'all. Michigan State looked like they had Michigan in one of those like goofy rivalry games where they were going to sneak up on them and like little brother gets a win. But Michigan pulled away. Listen, it was all going to be very funny for everyone. But they didn't. I don't think they have the juice. I think they've got a lot more going on than people were giving them credit for. Adrian Chiles is good. They have a very good quarterback.
Yeah.
And they have good receivers. I think they just need to get a little bit more on the table there, get some additional depth, and I think they'll be okay. Indiana is getting their 9th win. 9 Windiana is happening this week. We don't even have to wait for bowl season. 9 Windiana is happening. You're going to need 10 Windiana shirts and 11 Windiana shirts, and maybe even 12 Windiana shirts, because this is the Kurt Cignetti's got them rolling, and I don't see them letting up.
Carla, what do you think?
Yeah, we're going to get to 9 Windiana and no one's going to see it because it's on a streaming platform. Which thanks, media rights deal. Because I mean, after watching Sparty squander away that opportunity to beat Big Brother last weekend, like everything in this says Indiana wins and fairly comfortably. Taven Jackson filled in admirably at quarterback against Washington.
Yeah.
But Indiana is even optimistic that Curtis Rourke is going to be back in this game. And if that's the case, then this absolutely is a Hoosiers win. Maybe even a little bit more convincingly than what we think. So Hoosiers, go enjoy your 9th win.
I mean, the only question here is whether Curtis Rourke, a member of the Ohio University Canadian quarterback mafia, whether his surgically repaired thumb will allow him to lead the Hoosiers on their quest for the old brass spittoon. Yes, this is a trophy game. Cignetti said on Monday he was optimistic that Rourke would be ready to go. I don't think that question necessarily the answer to that question necessarily determines who will win this game. I think that's going to be IU. The only question is by how much. Hoosiers will continue their unreal streak. We go to the evening. The sun will be down here in the east, so that's close enough, I guess. 7:30 p.m. on ABC. Number 10, Texas A&M at South Carolina. The Aggies are favored by 2.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a Big Ten-ish 44.5. Carla, what do you think?
I don't understand the line in this game either. Texas A&M looked really good Saturday against LSU. And I've seen some refer to this as a trap game, which I don't get that. Maybe it's a letdown. But it's certainly not a look ahead because up next is New Mexico State and then Auburn. So okay. Right. Mike Elko said that the Gamecocks are, quote, the biggest challenge of the year to date, which, again, I'm not sure I buy that either after LSU last week. Elko also hasn't said who his starting quarterback is going to be. Marcel Reed or Connor Weigman. Weigman did not look good last week, to the point that he got benched in the 3rd quarter, and it was Reed who came in and saved the game. Right. So, like, I get it. Columbia is a tough place to play at night. Yes, South Carolina has one of the top run defenses in the country. And Texas A&M has, yes, they've relied pretty heavily on the legs of Le'Veon Moss, but I think this Aggie team is for real this year, and I think they're going to find a way to get it done on the road. I think they say biggest challenge of the year to date, that they've got another really big test coming in that last week of the season. And I think that's what they're playing for at this point. But yeah, I think the Aggies get that on the road.
Okay. AJ?
Yeah, I think the reason this is being called a trap game, I think the reason why the line is so tight is the confusion at quarterback. I think South Carolina at night, this is one of those games where it feels like Shane Beamer after the game is like, wow, I just can't believe this happened to me. And he goes full Taylor Swift on him. And thanks for both of you who are laughing. They're not on camera right now, but they're both laughing. Like, This is one of those
only because
games
it's true. It's so
right.
true.
Shane Beamer post game when he has the like, oh, I can't believe this happened to me. Look at me and my family. Look at my kids. I don't know. That's my Shane Beamer voice. I'm real sorry, Shane. I love you. But that's why this feels like one of those stupid games where like Texas A&M, who's coming off of a big win, you've got a bit of a letdown potential. They're going into a 4-3 South Carolina. They're 2-3 in conference. They're just kind of like in the middle playing. Like they almost beat Alabama. They beat the pants off of Oklahoma. Oklahoma plays Maine. Hopefully they win. What a statement to make in the year of our Lord 2024. But they've like South Carolina has played people close, but they don't get it done.
Right.
And I think that's really where that line is coming from. I think Texas A&M wins. I really want Texas A&M to be like ooh, this is a play-in game for the SEC championship. Just really turn the anxiety level of that game up, and let's turn the insanity up on that game. By the way, that's on Rivalry Week. I think that it's not Thanksgiving night, which is when it traditionally was played. I believe it is on Saturday this year.
Okay.
But you need to y'all need to turn that game on. That is a guaranteed watch. I'll watch that game.
We will get to that one for sure.
But I think Texas A&M goes in, gets a close win. I think to Crappy's point about Ohio State earlier, I think they escape. But I would not be surprised if Shane Beamer is doing Taylor Swift celebration speeches at the end of it.
I have nothing about Taylor Swift in my notes, so I'm hesitant to try to top that. I would urge you to look in on this game. Williams Bryce at night is kind of nuts. It is a fun thing to see, and I expect this to be tight for a while. It may be tight through the whole game. But what Texas A&M has showed consistently since its opening loss to Notre Dame is that they adapt and overcome. Whether it's questions about quarterbacks, whether they have slow starts, they just have figured out how to win these games, and that is a quality and a quantity that will serve them well, both on Saturday and as they continue through the season. It would be kind of fun to see if Mike Elko throws two quarterbacks at the Gamecocks, not out of necessity, as was the case last weekend, but just as a wrinkle to keep the Gamecocks off balance. 2.5. That's probably. I think Texas A&M is going to cover that, whether it's by a touchdown or 10 points. But the Aggies are gonna win this one on the road. We wrap up almost the big boy games at 8 p.m. on the ACC network. Number 18, Pitt at number 20, SMU. SMU is favored by 7.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is 58.5. I swear to God, there will be points in this game. Unlike last week's Syracuse Pitt game. I promise you. I promise you. AJ, tell me I'm right. Tell me this is going to be.
I think you're absolutely right. This game's going to get stupid.
Sweet.
And I would have said it's not going to get as stupid, but ESPN does ESPN things, and they put this game on the ACC network for some reason.
Right.
I don't understand this. They put Louisville at Clemson. I guess that's a better game at 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. Pitt SMU is ranked on ranked. What are we doing here? In fact, I believe it is the only ranked on ranked game this week?
Ohio State and Penn State is the other one.
And Ohio State, Penn State is the other. So why is this on ACC network and not on ABC? You put Texas A&M. Oh, they put Texas A&M, South Carolina on. They know now. I'm in. I should have noted the network. Damn it, I should have known. Pitt SMU is going to be stupid. Pitt has been playing lights out football.
Yeah,
on defense. The Night Dews is out here. He is doing a lot. They had 3 pick sixes, which tied a record for Pitt last week, and that just basically took Syracuse completely out of the game. SMU actually plays pretty solid defense. I think this is going to have points. I don't know that this will be as pointsy as we would like it to be, but I think Pitt goes to Dallas and comes out with a win, and we're talking about 8-0 Pitt. Sure, let's talk about Pitt. Talk to your kids about an undefeated Pitt and undefeated Clemson in the ACC title game. Or talk to your kids about an undefeated Miami and Pitt in the ACC title game. Like, there's a whole lot of stupid that could happen here, but I'm taking Pitt here. SMU is good, but they've been playing with their food lately. Give me Pitt.
Carla, what do you think?
It's the same. Like the fun index on this game feels low. Mm-hmm. But again, maybe that's because this is a strength on strength kind of matchup, right? So like SMU likes to run the football, Pitt plays good run defense.
Right.
SMU is also great at defending the run, but they're not as great statistically against the pass, and that's where Pitt has found his offense this year, from the arm of Eli Holstein. So I think Pitt has an opportunity here if it can get its passing game going. And when you look at the schedule, yes, SMU is really playing to keep its hopes. Yes, friends, we are saying this in the year of our Lord 2024. SMU is playing to keep its hopes alive for potential ACC title game berth.
Yes,
that's a real thing. What? Because if you look at the upcoming Show Ponies schedule, right, they've got BC, Virginia, and Cal left. That's it. Mm-hmm. Those are all very winnable games.
Mm-hmm.
Very winnable games. So something bizarre happens to either Clemson or Miami or let's say Pitt.
Right.
We could literally see SMU playing in the ACC title game. Pitt, meanwhile, still has Clemson on its slate. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say SMU comes out motivated here at home and knocks off Pitt because of that.
Ooh. I'm just back on the concept of SMU and Oregon going to new conferences and immediately going into the title game. They're doing the Missouri. Didn't Missouri go to the they won the SEC East the first 2 years they went in.
They might have. Yeah.
Was it the first 2 years, or was it there was a year that they first came in and then they won back to back?
Maybe. I don't remember, but yeah.
But yeah, it was like, this is the sort of thing where it's like, how hard could it possibly be to go win the Big Ten?
Mm-hmm.
Oregon can do it. I will say that Oregon coming over, it's I think I said this last time, there's no, they lost all their like boogeymen. Their boogeymen are in the Big 12 now. They can't, they don't go to Arizona now. They can go to Purdue and not worry about it. Ohio State fans, Penn State fans, everybody's got like nightmares of going to play Iowa at night, right? Like, you don't want to do that. But Oregon's like, I don't care. I don't believe in ghosts. And they don't have to do that. Crappy, who you got in this game?
If folks, you want just a ton of points in the 8 p.m. time slot, you should probably flip over to ESPN2 and watch TCU at Baylor. If you want to watch almost as many points and a consequential game, this is the one you want. You want to watch the Panthers and the Ponies try to outscore each other. Pitt's offense is slightly more prolific in terms of scoring, by 1 point per game on average. SMU's offense, Carla, you mentioned this, is more balanced. They run the ball really, really well. As odd as this is to say, as we talk about the concept of this game, the concept of a plan of this game, I'm tempted to say that the running game would actually help SMU slow things down a bit, but that's just dumb. This Pitt team has shown it can do what's necessary to win tight games. They won at Cincinnati. They won a rivalry game against WVU. Had to come back to do those. This will be a tight one. It will be a fun one, and the Panthers will remain undefeated in the ACC and overall. Guys, we have one more game to talk about. This is a game that we have been anticipating nearly all season, a chance to celebrate everything that's good about college football. This game will take place in Auburn, Alabama. It will be televised at 12:45 p.m. Saturday on the SEC network. It will feature as the good guys, this year's team of destiny. The bad guys, they're the ones playing at home. We're talking about Vanderbilt at Auburn. Auburn is a 7-point favorite. The AJ Fun Index is 48.5 points. And that's fine. That's fine. Vegas has to do what Vegas does. And Vegas does not, however, take into account destiny. It doesn't take into account darkness and light, good and evil. But here at the Carla and Crappy Show, we do. we take those things into account. Goodness and light will prevail on the plains on Saturday. I'm telling you right now. And the 2024 team of destiny, our Vanderbilt Commodores, will vanquish the Auburn Tigers and earn bowl eligibility while doing so. That's my pick. Carla, what do you think?
I still don't understand how Auburn is favored in this game. I just don't. Auburn is 1-4 in its last 5 games. Peyton Thorne has thrown 12 TDs to 7 picks. Like, okay, sure, Jericho Cunningham is doing decent work on the ground, but Vandy is right there in every category statistically, and they're 3-2 in their last 5. Is this just everyone thinking, oh, right, Vandy's back to being Vandy after, losing to Texas last week? Because I don't believe that to be true at all. Diego Pavia, Clark League, Jerry Kill, go get it done. Go get your 6th win.
AJ, you have been salivating over this game since the very first time we brought it up. What do you think?
That's true. As much as, like I said last week, as much as I wanted them to beat Texas, and they almost did, save it. Diego Pavia is coming for that butt. Guys, I know children listen to this podcast. I know that I need to stop with the harsh words. I need to stop with the bad words. Diego Pavia is coming for that butt, Hugh Freeze. 3 in a row. Write it down. Go Doors. This is like, honestly, the line is 7 because Auburn's playing at home. I don't care. Diego Pavia is going to win by 7. He's going to cover the over under by himself. I would love to see nothing more than just Vandy goes in and absolutely turns Auburn into paste. And Hugh Freeze sees Jerry Kill and Diego Pavia in his nightmares, which are daily.
Also, what makes this game even better?
Please. This
is the Jefferson Pilot game.
Yeah,
12:45 kickoff.
Yes,
this is the Jefferson Pilot game. Vanderbilt's winning this.
Yeah, this isn't even close. I'm sorry. Listen, and by the way, here's the thing. Auburn fans want that. They don't like Hugh Freeze.
Right.
They really don't.
Right.
There's a lot of them that have just like kind of given up on him as a coach. They want him gone. Losing to Vandy at home will do that. Get him gone, Diego. Get him gone.
Goodness and light prevailing on the plains on Saturday. Write it down. The Carla and Crappy Show says so. Boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a variety of other podcasting hosts. You can catch us on YouTube or the show's Facebook page, or, both if you want. As you may recall from a year ago, or what I've been talking about all year, you can read us on our Substack. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't, mind your own damn business. Be sure to come back next week when one of us, Carla or Crappy, is going to be hurting, because it's going to be a tight game and a lot of fun.
It's the annual I Hate College Football Week.
It is. It's coming. It is inevitable. Final thoughts. AJ, what else are you looking at this weekend?
I just want to point out there are 2 games being played at 10 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night. I did see this earlier, but I couldn't remember where they were. In California, we have the California Lutheran Kingsmen playing the Pomona Pitzer Sage Hens. I believe that is
what
D3.
level is it? D3? Okay.
I believe that's D3.
I did not look that deeply to find a night game for you. I'm sorry.
And on Flow Sports at 10 p.m., you have the Claremont Mud Scripps College Stags playing the Chapman University Panthers. So if you
could you
think
repeat
that's
that first name again?
Sure, Claremont Mud Scripps College Stags. I believe Claremont College, Mud College, and Scripps College have one college football team, because they're all real small.
Indiana,
all
Purdue, Indiana, Purdue.
Ooey Pooey.
Ooey Pooey. Okay, gotcha.
I think this is California Ooey Pooey is what we've discovered here. Nice. Is the Claremont Mud Scripps College Stags. And by the way, if you've ever wondered, I think they're in Redlands, California. There's like 7 colleges that all share like one block. There's 7 different colleges. They're all private schools, but they're all like next door to each other. And I think these are 3 of them. So Claremont Mud Scripps, they're all together. They are playing on Flow Sports. That is a paid service that I don't pay for.
Do you have picks?
No, I don't know who these teams are. Not at all. Listen, there's a certain level that I get to, and I'm like, I don't know. Portland State, Sacramento State is on ESPN Plus at 9 p.m. That's your actual late slate because everybody is scared of going up against the Yankees and Dodgers, which would be likely over by the time these games kick off at 10:30 or 11 p.m.
I think it's.
Why are you scared?
I don't know what's going on with the baseball game right now, but I think that's pretty much
scared, cowardice. It doesn't matter. Yeah. This is a sad day. This is a sad week for college football, and we need to do better. Do better, ESPN and others.
You're going to be okay. We'll get back to normal next week, I promise. Carla, what else are you looking for this weekend?
Yeah, so we talked about everything I had on my slate. So I had jotted down Louisville at Clemson. That game at 7:30 on ESPN because that again has the ACC title game implications. Cards hung with Miami, but had to escape BC last weekend. Yes. I circled this because is this a Clemsoning situation?
Could be.
Potentially. Clemson playing at home against a can be dangerous Louisville squad. So maybe. And then we mentioned this in passing. USC at Washington, the game that should be played at 10 p.m. Eastern, is being played at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on the Big Ten network. Because, yes, friends, reminder, that's a Big Ten game now. So the Pac-12 fully takes over the Big Ten network in prime time. But yeah, we talked about everything else that I wanted to talk about. So.
Okay.
I got to figure out how to do a quintuple box for the noon slate. I don't know how I can do that, but
2 TVs and then different quad boxes, and
you need the Zen browser and a laptop. There's a couple different ways to do it.
Yeah, because there's 5 games I want to watch at noon. So
you guys can work on that. I would love to watch all the games on the noon slate, but I'm being honest with myself, and it's not happening. I'm paying attention
also
to
true.
one. Paying attention to one. So I don't really actually have any other football to talk about because my Saturday is going to be determined completely and totally by what happens with the Penn State game. If Ohio State wins, I will be happily sit and watch college football for the rest of the day. If Ohio State loses, I might hate watch Oregon at Michigan, which is at 3:30. Just for the sheer pleasure of watching Michigan get dismantled. But so we'll see what happens with that. I have a couple things I wanted to mention related to the show and not related to the show. It has been a rough week at Middle Tennessee. A student took their own life in a pretty public space this week. And Carla has noted this with the two of us. The middle athletic department, as you guys know, has been fantastic to the show. The middle community as a whole, and you guys will hear more about this. Also, it has been awesome with us. And we offer our condolences to them. AJ, I know you join me with this, and Carla, to you. I know it's a tough thing.
Thank you.
The other thing I would tell you, and we kind of reference this, is to being distracted not by Maction so much on Tuesday, although there will be Maction going on. There will also be election results coming in on Tuesday night. I would urge you guys, I'm sure the Carla and AJ would do the same. Go vote. Make sure you vote, please. We hear stuff. I would usually argue that a municipal election is more important than most national elections. Not sure that that's the case this year. So if you can vote early, that's awesome. If you want to vote in person on Tuesday on election day, as I am going to do that, please make sure you participate. With that, guys, I will thank AJ and Carla as always. This has been a fun one, and I'm always happy to talk to you guys about football. So thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
Cheers. And boys and girls, thank you guys for watching, for listening, for reading, for doing all of the things that you do for the show. I hope you have an excellent college football weekend. I hope your teams play well, unless you live in Ann Arbor, because that's not going to go well for you guys. I'm very sorry.
Why? Who are they? Why? What? Who could they possibly be playing that would make that very painful for them?
Quack. Guys, have an excellent weekend. We will see you back here next week. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
episode.